Alright, now we're going to talk about the third conic section, which is called the hyperbola. So if you look in this diagram, you'll notice that the shape of a hyperbola is like two parabolas that are facing opposite directions. So one unique property of the hyperbola is that if you take any point on either of these curves, if you calculate the distance between the foci, so in this case the distance between the first focus and this point was 10 millimeters, and the distance between the second focus here at this point, it was 44 millimeters. If you take the absolute value of the difference, you get the same number regardless of which point you pick. So by definition, the hyperbola is the set of points such that the difference set of points between the distance from P, a point here, and two fixed points, F1, F2, the foci, is a given constant. So again, it's a set of all points such that the difference between the distances from P, a point on the hyperbola, to two fixed points, the foci, is a given constant. So in this case it was 34 millimeters. That's the definition of a hyperbola. So if we look at the equations for the hyperbola, there are two equations. So let's quickly sketch these. Now what I've drawn here are 2 points. These represent the vertices of the hyperbola. So similarly, with the parabola we had a vertex. This time we have 2 vertices. And what I'm going to draw now is called the central rectangle. Okay. Okay, the central rectangle. And through the central rectangle are what are known as asymptotes. So if we draw a line through the central rectangle, we have the asymptotes. Which pass through the diagonal of the central rectangle. Okay. So again, the points you see in black are the vertices. And the two asymptotes for each graph. So one important definition is the transverse axis. Okay, the transverse axis. The transverse axis, which we'll mark in red, is a segment that lies on the line containing the foci. So where are the foci? Okay. And has the vertices as endpoints. Okay. So in this video, we're just going to graph them and then write the equations. So here, if your foci are in green, then your parabola will look somewhat like this. Okay, and the equations for these I will write underneath. And let's erase this for now. So what are A and B? In this equation on the left, A is the distance from the center to one of the vertices. That's A. Okay. B is the distance given here. Okay, that's B. The distance right here. Half of the central rectangle in the vertical direction. And C is the distance from the origin to the focus. Okay, so this is C. Okay, here A is the distance from the origin to the vertex. So this is A. And this right here is B. And C again is the distance from the origin to the focus. And with a hyperbola, you have the following equation relating A, B, and C. That concludes our first video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.